Welcome back to season 7 of the Film versus Film podcast. I am your host, Quinn Boys, and I am so scared right now. Next to me, as always, is my co-host. I think next to me, you'll find actually my co-host is all around us. It's Lombardi Smits Jr. Lombardi, how's it going, buddy? Welcome.
Oh, Lombardi Smits Jr.
Lombardi Smits Jr.
Okay, we got the junior. That? No, it's Leonard Smith.
I couldn't
Jr.
keep doing the
Leonard
third,
Smith
the fourth.
Jr.
It was going to just keep going.
Ride that punishment wave as long as you can, because I'm thinking I'm winning this season. That's right. We're on season 7, not season 6. This is Film versus Film podcast. I am Leonard Smith Jr. And we have a fun one today. We have a very great guest. He's a stand-up comic, a social media sensation. Okay, the next big comedy rapper, and he makes a mean gumbo. And what time is it right now? It is 8:18. We better wrap this up quick because he's got to be to bed by 9. Give it up for Max Castillo.
What up, everyone? Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
in this teal room. This is tight.
Yeah, right. We've upgraded.
I know.
This is a new space for us. You know, we're in a new space and we had to get some new fire guests, and we're very excited to have you. Oh, yeah. Thank you for doing the podcast.
Of course, bro.
Now, the way we got to this prompt, I don't think we gave you the information for this prompt, and you chose something that is actually kind of a mainstay of every episode of our show.
Yeah, for those familiar with our podcast, you may know our patented 5-point criterion for analyzing any film. It's foolproof. And amongst the things we talk about, which we will get to later for both of the picks for this prompt, are pop culture. We talk about statistics. We talk about box office, Rotten Tomatoes rating. One of the things we always talk about is, does this movie hold up? And that is our prompt for today.
Is the prompt
We're
for today.
talking about 2 movies
that don't hold up.
That we think
specifically
do not hold up. Yeah.
And, you know, I'm very brave of you to possibly watch 2 stinkers. And, you know, I think both these movies do kind of suck. And you know what? I don't know if Quinn wants to go first, or I can talk about my movie first.
No, I'll go first.
But wait, hold on. Before we talk about the movies, Max, how did you get to this prompt?
I think you were throwing some out at me, and I was torn between 2, which was movies that don't hold up, or the hyper-specific movies that impacted a certain time in my young life that influenced my sense of humor. I was like, wow. Clearly this is someone's raring to do this one, but I thought movies that don't hold up was so interesting because I think that's such a fun thing to talk about, especially in art. You know, I'm a big, I love movies. I also love music, hip hop in particular and stuff. And sometimes it is fun to go back and see like, okay, well, what is timeless? Because I think ultimately that is like the footprint of a great piece of art, right? Is it timeless?
Yes, is it timeless?
So also just felt like a really fun topic. I wanted to see what you guys threw at me for it.
I really wish now you would have chosen best hip hop movie, just so I could have seen what Quinn would have chosen.
I would have called in sick.
You would have chosen 8 Mile.
I would like to proudly state, despite definitely having multiple or a couple Eminem phases in my life, I have not seen 8 Mile.
Wow.
Have you seen Hustle and Flow, man?
No.
With Terrence Howard, man?
I have not seen Hustle and Flow.
My friend saw Hustle and Flow, and the projector like broke in the middle of the film, and they just didn't give them like a rain check. And
they only saw Hustle?
Hey, that's Memphis, baby.
They didn't get to Flow.
That's Memphis,
and they were
there.
like okay with it. They were like fine.
So everyone was happy with the way that afternoon shook out. The people that bought the tickets, they're like, that's good. We got most of it. The theater got paid. That's all that matters. You know, Terrence Howard didn't get the right amount of the dividends that he wanted, but he got some. Well, once he puts that through his own math, I think he'll find that he actually got paid.
There is no zero. What is it?
I think it's that 1 times itself is 2 is the basis of it.
And
what's really scary is if you listen to him for long enough, I was like, does he have a point? And I was like, nope.
No.
I'm thinking about it too much.
Okay, well, we chose very polar opposite.
My favorite hip hop movie would be. Keep going.
I'll go first. We chose very polar opposite movies. I chose the 2003 film Love Actually.
That's my favorite hip hop movie.
Directed by Richard Curtis. It is a movie, a Christmas movie.
What month is it?
It came out November 17th.
No, I'm saying it's August now.
It is August. Yes.
So you picked a Christmas movie.
I picked a Christmas movie. Because I have seen this movie with a girlfriend at the time, and she lauded and talked about how her and her family watch it every Christmas and how it's amazing. And I watched this movie with my eyes and saw that it was hot garbage. It's a convoluted movie with 10 different storylines, all focused on love and different stories of love and how people share their love. And God, I'm gonna just talk about the movie before I give my opinion on the movie. It is star-studded.
Yeah,
Keira Knightley, Andrew Lincoln, Hugh Grant,
Liam Neeson.
We got
Bill Nye
the Science Guy. We got Emma Thompson. It's all these different stories of all these people in the UK and London trying to find and experience love, and it's set at Christmas time. We got an old rocker trying to get his shine back, trying to get a number 1 Christmas hit going against those pop groups in the 2000s, early 2000s.
Tough out here.
There's a lot going on. It's kind of tough to give a synopsis.
No, you can't. I mean, it would be not worth my time, or more importantly, Max's time, to summarize all the different strands. But it's a kind of movie that
it's like
has made a lot of other, like, there were movies that I have
Mother's
not
Day
seen, Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, where it's just like, let's get 18
let's make 10
people
movies instead of one movie,
but let's make just a little bit of those movies.
But it also has a feel
together.
of what was that movie where it was like a sad and depressing movie where all the people like tie together, and it came out like
Human Centipede.
No, like Ludacris is in it, and like Crash,
or
Crash. Yeah. Like I think this came out like a year before Crash, a year or two before Crash, where they were like, "Oh,
this did precede Crash.
We can have as many stars as we can," and they all only have 12 minutes on.
I've never thought of Crash and Love Actually together, but you're absolutely right that they do that as
direct prequel.
Yeah. Where they like all have these different storylines, but they all are in like the same little universe in this one town in London. I don't know. Anyways, we have the Prime Minister. It's a lot.
Hugh Grant is the Prime Minister in this movie.
It's a lot of people love this movie to this day and have very good feelings about this rom-com, and I differentiate on those feelings.
Knowing that it doesn't necessarily weigh in with where you'll shake out on if it holds up or not. Max, did you see this movie when it came out? Are you a fan of this movie? Or, I can't imagine this was the first time, but maybe.
It's not the first time I saw it, but when it came out, I think I watched it on like TBS or something when I was like in 4th grade. And so I had this very different perception of it, because when you watch it on TBS, they just don't even show like the sex scene people. Yeah, there's like hella titties in this movie.
Weird movie.
I'm like, that's when I think family holiday classic, I think hella titties.
I don't think there were titties in Mother's Day, but I'll check.
Anyway. Milfer's Day. Okay. But yeah, like, so I saw this movie, the first time I saw it was very different. And then I think I watched it again in like high school or late high school, early college. And I saw the full, like uncensored director's cut. Remember that? Like 2001 DVD, the red stamp, unrated. I saw that and I was like, whoa, this is an entirely different film. So this was like my 3rd or 4th time seeing it.
Okay.
And yeah, I agree. There's certain things that are just like, why would they make that choice? Like, my favorite part is it doesn't get more than 30 seconds into the movie without mentioning 9/11. It's immediate. It's in the first, like,
well, 2003. We had to.
We had to say it. Everybody was like, they better say it.
They better acknowledge it,
and they did. And
it happened.
They ripped the Band-Aid off.
Because I mean, people in London in 2003 probably talk about 9/11 all the time.
Right? Have you seen that movie? I wonder if they're going to talk about 9/11. Like, dude, I saw it. But yeah, it's one of those movies where after rewatching it this time, I realized like the old rocker guy. I just want that movie.
Yeah, that's the best storyline.
Yeah,
by far,
that's the best one.
Yeah. No question about it. Billy, Uncle Billy,
he's so funny. It's like that's the most fun part of the movie. I do like the storyline where Snape has hoes. I think that's fire. When he's like, I didn't buy you a necklace. Like, I'm like, okay, like I'll throw that in there. But yeah, some of them I'm like, I don't need any of these storylines.
Yeah.
It's not a London movie also if Mr. Bean doesn't pop up for like 2 minutes.
Which is also probably the second best part of this movie.
That little Mr. bit Bean. Where he's just doing the gift wrapping. It's a nice bit of business. And the fact that it's in the storyline where Snape is cheating on his wife
is kind of
it's just like, why put Mr. Bean there? He should probably be with the guy trying to score American chicks. Feels like where Mr. Bean comes in.
No, they wanted to make light of adultery. So they wanted to make it a little lighter. Making people feel bad about it.
Make it polite.
Because Bill Nye is like a Scroogey kind of a character, the old rock star. But that's like, all right, well, he'll probably soften, or he's that little edge, that little salt to go with the sweet that makes the whole sweet go down. But the fact that they're like, no, we need a frank look at adultery in this movie where the prime minister attends a 6th grader's recital. Like, it's just like, yeah, all right. I respect that they.
I also love that plot angle because their whole thing is like, the American president fucks. Like that's like why he's bad, which is so funny because they're clearly like taking inspiration from the Clinton like scandal and shit. But it's
they
so funny
couldn't cast anyone else besides Billy Bob Thornton. For that. Like he was perfect for that role. Just a scummy. Like if they had been in that room together another 5 minutes, it would have been a different movie. Quinn, what did you choose for your movie?
So your film had approximately 128 people in it with storylines and speaking parts. I chose a movie with I think charitably we should call it 2.5 people. One of them is always behind a camera, which makes them also the director, so they don't fully count. But I chose the Blair Witch Project, 1999 horror found footage sensation at the time. Landmark film in the found footage horror genre. This is just a movie about some friends, a girl and 2 guys trying to make a film in the woods. Not that kind of movie, Leonard. They're trying to do a documentary about the fabled Blair Witch. And they're going around to the town. They're talking to some locals. And then they're like, let's try to go in the woods and see what we can find. And as you would expect, it doesn't end well for them. They get lost. They are increasingly feeling stalked by someone.
Yeah, leaving piles of rocks.
There's piles of rocks. There's little twig dolls made and arranged outside their tent. Every now and again, someone does that thing where they just shake the shit out of their tent. It's not a good time. They get separated. Eventually, one of the members of the team falls off entirely. They find an old house. I mean, I can get through the whole movie in like 2 seconds. More time than it takes.
I was about to commend you for you stretching this as long as you have.
I mean, you've seen it. It's a horror film that was pitched. I guess the most important thing to take away is it was pitched at the time, and now that we all know it is still kind of meant to be viewed. I think really it's only function as entertainment is if you're viewing it through the lens of, oh shit, did this happen maybe? Yeah. And at the time, people were like, fooled. Maybe. Yeah. And it was a phenomenon. It was like a viral sensation. There's all sorts of like viral marketing at the dawn of, maybe not the dawn of the internet, but the internet being in everyone's home where you could look it up and be like, did this happen? And then you just get like a shrug because there wasn't enough. Yeah. There was just some web page where it's like, well, maybe. Yeah. They were like planting web pages too, where they're like, yeah, it happened. And it was the filmmakers.
Yeah, the internet, it was like, shit, we're worried about Y2K coming. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So it has a meta context that is fascinating to look back on, but at the time also definitely built up the hype. I was 8 years old when this movie came out, so I was not allowed to see it. But I remember being fascinated by it because of somewhat like the iconography, like the twig sculptures and stuff. And your kid, the woods is still scary and fascinating. Yeah, but I picked this movie because I also think it does not quite hold up.
I believe you.
Yeah,
I believe you very much.
I didn't see it back then, like I said, so I kind of saw it with with all the bloom was well off the rose.
Yeah.
And so
the first time you saw it.
The first time I saw it, which was decade after the movie came out. Yeah. And it was an interesting experience. You're like, that was it? That was what everybody was? Because Blair Witch, it's also that thing where it like lives inside your mind. It takes like larger proportions. Then you finally see it and it's like, I'm not saying I would make something like that. Like I could do it, but I could do it.
Yeah.
I don't think I could get Hugh Grant to be in my rom-com, but I could get 2 friends and go in the woods and tie some sticks together.
Yeah.
I got a tent.
100%. There are better movies being made at USC right now.
What's your
100%?
Also like, and then this is part of the charm, I guess, but also part of, like we all have, there's like 8 cameras in this room that could make a better looking movie than that. I'm talking about the phones in our pocket as well. Like it's a product of a bygone era that's not that long ago, although it is 25 years now, but it feels like forever ago. Maybe that's just the way that the internet cannibalizes everything. Max, had you seen this movie before?
I'd seen it one time before in college. We all did like a big night where like a bunch of friends and I all watched it. And one of our friends got off. Her name's VK. Shouts out VK if you're listening. She got off work late, so she showed up like an hour into the movie and fucking like busted in the door and scared all of us. And like low key, that was the scariest part of the movie. But
she showed up when the movie was over.
No, she showed up like I'd seen it before. I liked it. I mean, I thought it was a good time. Like you know.
I feel like that's the kind of setting you have to watch it in.
Watching it with friends in college
is the
when you
perfect
can
time.
have a friend bust in to raise the stakes at a certain point. That's an ideal.
Were you surprised by our choices? Did you have anything in mind?
Yeah, what would you think? Were you thinking along any lines for this? I mean,
I thought, the prompt movies that don't hold up, I didn't know what angle you guys were going to take it. So I kind of thought there was going to be some like Caddyshack-esque, like, you know, like comedy that's like,
we could have gone farther back.
You know, I was like, here's a movie where they say slurs. You know, I didn't know if it was going to be one of those, but I thought it was like cool. And that's why I wanted to see that prompt to see what you guys would pick. So I thought you had really good choices, and I think they're actually really good conversation pieces.
Yeah.
I also thought maybe like trying to like do a movie with shitty special effects or something like that, you know, but
there are a couple times we've talked about like comedies that don't hold up. It's so like a comedy could be 5 years old and be terribly outdated. You know what I mean? Like
the 40-Year-Old Virgin, you kind of, when you rewatch that movie, it was like so good, but when you rewatch it, you're like, oh damn, I didn't realize some of these parts in this movie were
same era. Wedding Crashers has like a bunch of stuff where if I was like I guess full disclosure, I still think Wedding Crashers is funny, but I recognize there's parts of it that are like not okay. But the whole conceit is like tricking women into having sex with you. Not a premise that's getting greenlit in 2024, I don't think. Like just straight up lying to women and having sex with them and then leaving. That's I think a crime. I think we recognize that as a crime now. But
literally like any comedy movie made in the 80s, like basically does not hold up.
Right.
Any white comedy.
It was almost
Coming to America.
Coming to America,
hold up. So
any white comedy.
Any white comedy.
I've got a few minutes of a couple Eddie Murphy stand-up specials. But I mean, it isn't like that's the nature of it, especially with comedy. I feel like so it's interesting. I'm not even saying that with as it reflects on Love Actually, which is kind of a bunch of stuff. But it is interesting. Comedy feels like the thing that is the most of the time that it comes out and disposable. Obviously some things are classic, but even we've talked on this podcast about Blazing Saddles, which was one of my favorite comedies. It's just littered with the N-word and a ton of other
But what's funny enough, I felt like it still kind of held up.
I think it was fine despite all those things. But I mean,
it's like littered with the N-word in like a Mark Twain sense, where it's like, this is bad, guys. That's why I, Mel Brooks, wrote it a bunch of times.
Apparently, I don't think he's credited, but we talked about it at the time. I think Richard Pryor did some like uncredited, like some writing on that too. I loved that they're just like a shield for the N-word criticism, where they're just
Richard,
like,
bring Richard Pryor in the room. Bring Richard Pryor.
But yeah, all the characters that say it in that movie are either like crazy stupid or evil, so it kind of checks out. You got Gene Wilder holding up the good end.
Speaking of crazy, stupid, and evil, let's talk about Love Actually. Andrew Lincoln's character, fuck that guy.
Crazy,
okay,
insane.
First of all, Keira Knightley prop. The black dude prop. Who was the black dude's name?
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yeah, I
don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but I have it.
What's his first name?
Chiwetel. CHIWETEL.
You have this amazing actor at your helm. Don't use him.
No.
Like the threesome. The I'm gonna go to America and have sex with American women. Crazy.
Can I talk about that
line.
one for a second? That whole time I'm watching the movie, the first time I saw this movie, I was like, this is such a, like, I know how these movies work. Like, he wants to have a threesome in America. He's going to go. He's going to meet someone on the plane and be charmed. And then, like, when he gets the opportunity, he's going to be like, no, I want one. It's just one woman is for me, this woman, or at least a substantive relationship of any sort. Maybe he gets a dog. But the fact that he goes and then he has the threesome and then later on he's like,
a foursome, actually.
Like, I was shocked that was the ending. That was the resolution of that story.
I honestly thought that was one of the most realistic storylines in the movie.
Like, you've been to Wisconsin?
Well, it's just like, I just feel like, you know, even if a dude's busted, if he has a British accent, he's gonna be able to clap cheeks.
Yeah.
I was so surprised that his friend was like, it'll never work. I'm like, it'll work. Dude, it'll work with someone, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know about Wisconsin and those women being in Wisconsin. That's so
the most
ridiculous.
Unrealistic part. Those women aren't in Wisconsin.
Alicia Cuthbert and fucking Shannon Elizabeth.
That was it. Yep.
And Denise Richards.
It's crazy. It's insane. So listen,
none of those people have. I don't know. I'm guessing none of those people have ever been in Wisconsin in real life.
This movie is made through a white straight male scope. Like it is like 100% made for straight white women and their wives and their daughters.
I don't know that it's directed towards white men. I mean, it's directed by a white man. I don't think it's pitched towards women.
It is pushed towards white culture. And
Okay.
because my girlfriend, she has my ex-girlfriend, she has there's 4 girls, three sisters, mom, dad, and they watch this movie every Christmas. And I'm like, how
That's
are there
crazy.
5 women in this house?
That's crazy.
And you watch this movie every Christmas.
My girlfriend's family watches Muppets Christmas Carol every Christmas, and that's just like a good wholesome
That's a
time.
great movie.
Great wholesome time.
That movie holds up.
Yeah.
There's not some dude fucking creepily taping his best friend's wife at the wedding
while simultaneously bullying her.
Yeah.
Yes. Being like, I've been.
But it's because he loves her, And then like he tried to set old boy up when he was like, "You got prostitutes for my bachelor party."
Yeah, that was crazy.
And it was like, bro, what? This dude sucks, man.
What a terrible person.
Just because he's hot, we're supposed to like him? I was like, Keira Knightley's hot.
Think he's not better looking than Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Exactly.
Keira Knightley wouldn't be
it's
trading
racist.
up in that scenario.
In the white.
There's one prominent black character in this movie who gets cuckolded.
Yeah,
It's sort of.
and we don't ever really know what happens.
No, yeah, they should have shown. This movie can be easy. I don't know why it needed to be like somewhat complex in parts, like the dynamic between Snape and I'm not remembering anyone's actual name. Snape and Emma Thompson. But like it could have just been like Chiwetel Ejiofor was a bad guy, and he knew that, and he felt conflicted because he's like, he's my friend from way back, and I don't want to,
that's a
not
thing.
do that, but I love his, and she doesn't deserve. That wasn't even in there.
There are no repercussions in this movie for anyone.
Yeah, true.
All of the men get away. It's like men with higher powers or higher class status going after women with lower class status and swooning them and pestering them and learning another language, even though they've never talked to each other, and asking for their hand in marriage. It's a wild.
What about
time.
the fact that Natalie in the Prime Minister's office? I was looking up Hugh Grant's character's name, and he's just credited as the Prime Minister, so I'm just gonna call him Hugh Grant. But there's like much is made. A couple different comments are made to her being like, not just plus size. I mean, they just call her like, fat.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
This is clearly before Megan Thee Stallion was like prominent because like you look at her now and I'm like, I don't even think she's that thick. Like,
no, she's not.
She's not.
That's what I mean. Like, it's not even like
she had a little dump truck.
Yeah,
she had a little dump truck. Okay, she had some ass, but she was not fat in any regard.
No, she's like, see, I was getting fat.
She wasn't even thick.
Well, you were. You're just like, yeah, you look great.
Also, like, what, too fat to work in the Prime Minister's office? She's not like selling Diet Coke. I don't understand what the premise is. I don't like. Why would that ever come up? It's terrible.
It's an insane premise.
And Billy Bob Thornton was like, hell yeah.
I have a theory. It's not charitable to Hugh Grant.
Yeah,
but I think Hugh Grant was like, we really got to play up. I don't have a Hugh Grant. This is a little bit more rock and roll up, but he's like, we've got to play up. If she's going to be with me, we've got to talk about her side. Like that thing where it's like, he's high status. She is not an actor. Of all the famous people in this movie, I don't know Martine McCutcheon.
Yeah.
Not familiar with her other work. So he's like, well, we got to make it like impossible that I would get with this woman. So let's talk about how she is fat and she's got a niece or whatever, like whatever the thing is. It's just like, okay, Hugh. Like it felt like someone pushed that storyline to make it seem more improbable that they would get together because he's Hugh Grant.
Yeah.
He only gets with Julia Roberts and Renee Zellweger. Actually, Renee Zellweger, the whole thing is that she's fat in that movie too. Yeah, does Hugh Grant make that in all his movies?
Is Hugh Grant a chubby chaser and he's secretly trying to push that agenda and doesn't want
to? Actually, there's some news about Hugh Grant and the types of women he likes, and that's not the proclivity, but
are they young?
Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was like a classic
young women.
Hugh Grant was arrested in 1995 for trying to pick up a prostitute, and if I'm remembering,
are we talking about trans women?
I think I was thinking of Eddie Murphy.
You're thinking of Eddie Murphy,
but he also was. He tried to pick up a prostitute, but I'm glad I didn't just step in it.
Yeah, there are so many storylines that don't get completed, and then they try to tie it up with a nice little bow by having them all come to the airport at the same time.
Also, why is the Prime Minister flying commercial? That's crazy. He just like walks out. I'm like, what? Were you on a Delta flight?
Bro, he was on a private jet, but all the stewardesses were too big, and he was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. I gotta get on. I'm getting on Delta, bro. We're hopping over from the pond. He flew to America to beat the president's ass, is what I'm hoping. That was what I was thinking.
That'd be fire. He hit him with a stone cold stunner.
Yeah.
Also, weird storyline. I didn't realize this until this watch through, but like the Liam Neeson storyline to me is so odd because like at the top of the movie, it's 5 weeks to Christmas. So it's like the first week of December. And his wife dies, right?
Yeah.
And then like by the end of the movie, it's sometime in January. So not more than 7 weeks later. And he's like already dating another woman.
Yes, he's ready to get wifed up again.
And I'm just like, this is nuts. Like
he forgot about his wife so quick.
So quick.
And then Emma Thompson being like, "Oh, don't be a sissy." Like it's like, bro, it's the day before his wife's funeral, bro. Let that man cry, bro.
What's fucked up is that in 2009, Liam Neeson's wife, Natasha Richardson, who's like was an actress and in some things. She was the mom in the Lindsay Lohan Parent Trap, just to set a face. She died in like a skiing accident in 2009, and shit. I had not seen this film at that point, but I remember that. So when I first watched this, I was like, oh fuck, is this like
playing off?
Is he like playing into this actual stuff? I had my timelines mixed up. But that is like
crazy.
That would be fucking crazy.
Can you imagine having the worst thing that could ever happen to you in your life happen to you, and then be like, fuck, this is like that movie I did, Love Actually. Fuck. I know exactly.
Also, he was the kid's
fine by January.
Where's the real dad? We never got an explanation on that.
Yeah, maybe also dead.
I thought it was also kind of fucked up. You're like, oh, you're Brandon's dad. He's like, oh, I'm his stepdad. Damn, hold on. God damn, you can't just you ain't want to step up and be the real father.
Also, the fact that little kid was just like, I should be sorry about mum, but I'm in love. And then he just never mentions her ever again.
Crazy.
And I'm like, this bitch's body is not even cold, and y'all like just forgot about her.
Bro, thank you,
Nuts.
man. I appreciate it.
Nuts.
I went back and I watched this movie. We were getting ready for Christmas early. I watched it on November 26th last year, and I made a story about it. And in the story, my issue with that storyline was how quickly they had forgotten about their wife.
Yeah.
It was insane.
To be fair, though, I hate watching people mourn in movies, especially if you don't know the character they're mourning. I'm always just like, edit this out. So I kind of appreciate that they were like, heard, he's over it.
He kind of did well. The acting in this movie is also kind of bad. You know,
yeah, it's
kind of bad. And Emma Thompson, though, Emma Thompson was great. Emma Thompson was amazing when she realizes that. Snape is cheating on her.
Moment in a weird.
And then she's listening to the CD that he fucking
Joni
gave
Mitchell,
her for Christmas. Joni Mitchell,
brutal.
Oh man, such a great scene. I will say though, in Blair Witch Project, the acting was great. I really did feel like I was watching white college kids argue with each other.
That's because they were stranded 3 actors in the woods and they didn't tell them what was happening. Yeah. So have you heard the
they really did that?
So apparently, I'm not gonna have all my facts right. This isn't a factual podcast, but we can look up the stuff that sounds suspicious. But my understanding is the filmmakers, whose names I do not remember and will not look up right now, the filmmakers,
Eduardo Sanchez is one of them.
Okay. They told the actors like the rough idea, and obviously they knew they were making a film and not looking for an actual Blair Witch, but they stranded them in the woods and they gave them a map, I believe, and they were like, you're gonna go here, and then this day you're gonna kind of set up camp here, so that they knew where to check in with them. But the filmmakers are like, you're not gonna see us probably. They would leave food for them at certain like points, like they knew they could go and find it. But otherwise it was kind of like, just document it like you are the people and see how it goes. And we'll maybe throw some stuff at you. So when they're fucking with them at night, a lot of the time, I believe it
was unexpected.
They didn't know that was going to happen.
That's
or more
awesome.
Specifically, they didn't know when it would happen. So when it was happening, they were getting... So I don't know if we can call them real actors, or we could just say they tortured 3 people in the woods outside Baltimore or whatever.
Dude, that's so sick.
Yeah.
Bro, what's so fucked up right now, if I got that casting call for like, hey, we're going to pay you $10,000 to be in the wood for 3 days, I'd be like, I'll do it.
Yeah. Get me out there.
Get me out there right now.
They told the guys like, they told one of the guys, like, be antagonistic. The one who's like, this
Mikey.
was such a bad idea.
Mikey.
Yeah.
Mikey sucks.
They told him to be antagonistic. No, I believe the thing was they told the other guy to be antagonistic, but the guy that played Mikey was so pissed that he was just going at. He was just like, they were really getting frustrated with each other. And one of the few times that they had to step in was they stepped in and they told her like, hey, don't like just harass, like don't just scream at this one. Like all of the footage is that because they're just really pissed at each other and they're really lost and they're really, I guess, not hungry. They probably fed them enough, but they're probably just leaving granola bars. They're not like well fed.
Yeah.
And so again, I think they had like an outline. They probably knew at some point, like, okay, now you guys are going to find the house, but they were just sort of lost or just deep in the woods with no real
Wow, I did not know that. That's
awesome.
insane.
That's so sick.
So you do that? Because I feel like I would need more than
No,
$10,000. No, what am I thinking?
I just saw the budget of this film, and they did not get more than $10,000.
This movie
Yeah, but this was 1998, $10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
talking
roughly $87,000.
That is so true. And would I take $87,000 now if they were like, go film in the wood for 3 days? Yes, I would.
bro.
Were you interested at all in the lore of the Blair Witch? Was that like working on you at all? I feel like lore is important in a horror movie.
The buildup wasn't that great.
That one lady they talked to kind of
was kind of creepy.
Yeah, but everybody else
I thought that was cool. I kind of see. I think this is one of those movies where you can kind of openly debate like what the artistic like intention of it was, because if like technically you're supposed to believe that it's this meta film and it's a documentary made by film students, of course the buildup sucks because they're film students and they suck at making films.
Yeah.
So I kind of appreciated that. And I liked the little, one of my scenes is the two dudes who were going fishing and they're just like, you know, the classic, like, yep, these woods are haunted. You know what I mean? I love
and the other one's
those
like, no,
characters.
it ain't haunted. And he's like, I saw it. You didn't see it.
I saw something up there. He's like, yeah, you know, in the 1900s, like 8 people got their guts ripped out, but it was just stories. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. This sounds kind of scary.
No, I will say it did feel realistic. The opening and how she was like, this is going to be a serious documentary. It's not going to be cheesy. It's not going to be. And I was like, yeah, I can see her really being like, I'm going to hold this camera and like, I'm in charge of these 2 men and I'm going to tell them what to do. But the thing that held up the most about this was that those 2 men blamed her for everything.
They were one day in the woods away from like eating her and wearing her skin. I think where they're just like, all right, let's get these guys to the house.
Now, both these movies don't hold up, but man, let's get into these criteria. They both have pop culture,
huge pop
phenomenon.
Culture
Both of them.
First of our 5 criterion points. Pop culture for Blair Witch, since we're talking about it anyway, and we can pivot back. Like, I think that like the Blair Witch like created. I'm sure someone will pull a French film from 1960 whatever that had a guy using his camera as POV, but like an entire film where the camera is POV, but also the camera is a camera. It's not just like an art film where the camera is someone's eyes or whatever. We have how many? We're filled. Like there's the entire.
They created
what's that?
genre
that horror streaming service. There's like a horror streaming slasher or something like that.
Yeah.
It's all filled with like movies that never saw the light of day that were just made from the camera because it's so cheap. But it did have a kind of, the reason the Blair Witch worked is because it was believable enough that maybe it could, like it had a certain like, it passed the sniff test. It had a certain like validity to it, even though it was cheap. And it spawned so many imitators. Obviously Paranormal Activity was probably the chief one among them, but just this sort of like DIY horror found footage. I mean, they made that Cloverfield, which isn't even fully horror. I think the reasons that someone would be holding a camera during like an alien invasion of New York in the case of Cloverfield, it like, I don't really, that strains credulity.
Oh, that felt
but
so
like
flat.
for Blair Witch, it's like, yeah, I'm lost in the woods. I'll probably keep this as a record, maybe my last will and testament. Like there were never too many moments where I was like, why she got this camera out? Why is it on?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact they're also making a film.
Well,
it's
also
like, anyone who's met a cinema, a verite, like, oh, this is all good. This is all part of it.
Yeah, but also the times where you're like, why is she holding the camera? The dudes are like, why are you fucking holding
That's
that?
true.
Why is the camera out?
Crucially, have some people being like, stop filming.
Directing.
I'm pissed off.
You're still in fucking documentary mode.
Or when she's like trying to narrate, like, she's Richard Attenborough or whoever does those.
David Attenborough.
It's just like,
here we see an angry white man.
I'm going to tell you why this movie had so much pop culture phenomenon. The goddamn studio spent a lot of money on advertising. There was a big marketing plan behind this because they spent no money on the movie.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I think viral, they got a lot of free advertising from people just like being interested in hearing about it. And like the viral,
and then creating the sites. Like
viral marketing was not really a thing.
So they were ahead of their time with the marketing and the way they sold it and how it was something new. And they were right. And and you said like maybe it was an artistic viewpoint, something new. I feel like the studio saw this and they were just like, oh, we can get the most with doing the least amount of work or spending the least amount of money. So for me, the reason why it has so much pop culture phenomenon is because the studio knew it was a cash grab, basically.
Yeah. I read on the Wikipedia that they also even had the filmmakers produce like a 30-minute like History Channel special, because you remember back in the day, History Channel would be like haunted history and ghosts.
Yeah.
They literally made one like a fake lore on the Blair Witch. Like they were planting these seeds everywhere. It was absolutely nuts the way they marketed this movie. And I remember I was 7 or 8 when this came out, and I remember like I didn't go see it then, but I had my older cousins who were in high school and early college at the time talking about like, have you guys heard of this? Like I remember it being like a phenomenon, and like they did a really good job.
And there were
I remember
older
my parents
people
coming back from seeing it, and I remember like asking them what it was like, because I was so intrigued with like.
And there were older people who were concerned and thought it was real. There were people like writing in letters,
My
like,
parents.
I also read on there that they like the mother of the actor that played what was her name, Heather.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like her mother was getting like actual sympathy cards because they thought that actually happened to her. It was nuts.
Insane.
That's
so it has a lot of, I mean, obviously it had so much pop culture phenomenon that they made a sequel in 2016, so like it had to have some type of force, but I mean it was just something new and they marketed the hell out of it. Love Actually,
Scary Movie. It was also immediately parodied in Scary Movie, which I did see around the time it came out. So that also like made it. But the face, the shot of the face right in the camera with the dripping.
Oh
and
my
the
God.
snot.
I mean,
so
they even
funny.
parodied that on The Office. Like that's been done so
So-
many times.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, there is some artistic validity to like, this is new, but it was just so cheap that it was like, anyone can do this now. It was just that we were the first to do it. Love Actually, huge pop culture phenomenon because every goddamn British star is in it.
Yeah.
And they it also feels like a money grab, but in a different way, where they're like, this story sucks. This isn't good writing, but we can put every fucking big star in it. We can set it at Christmas. And we can have the best fucking soundtrack ever. Like the music in this movie is really good, and
Hugh Grant's Love Actually is all around us. That I feel like I've seen that, and of course
the Sign.
The Sign.
Sign is
that's
huge pop
the
culture.
enduring moment from that.
You see a lot of people where they just like blank out whatever the actual words are on there, and then they put whatever joke they want to put on the sign.
Well, I always thought it would be where the first sign is like, say it's carol singers. And then she goes, it's carol singers. And then I always, maybe because just like we call them carolers here or something, but it sounds like a name. I always expect to be like, carol singers? Bring her up. She's from my office. Like, I don't know.
God, that's
I hear
funny.
carol singers and I think a person. But that whole moment, people have parodied it. People have put other things on the sign. I mean, have you ever written signs to people and tried to, have we ever done this? I feel like you could win. I think you could win a girl back that way.
No, never done it.
No?
Never.
I've never done
it.
anything that creative. No.
Have y'all seen that video though, where
It's also, where are those? He's just dropping them on the ground. All right.
this dude is in his truck, his like big truck. They're like in the country, and he's filming, and the girl next to him, he's like, oh, you see that sign?
Yep.
And it's like 12 signs down like maybe a 2-mile road in the middle of the farmland. And she's like, oh wow. He's like, will you? And like, it's someone asking someone to prom, and he's like trying to keep a straight face. And then she's like, reading the sign, she's like, oh my God. She's like, that is so fucking corny. Who the fuck would like this is that is the cringiest thing I've ever seen. And then like the last sign is like, Jessica, will you go to prom with me? And then she's like, oh my, and she instantly just starts bawling because
she's like, was that you? Say that wasn't you. And the guy's like, dude, that was me. I'm pulling the truck. I'm just crashing it.
It was wild. It is one of the, it almost felt unreal how like it was just quintessentially just perfect, like a perfect sketch. We're just shitting on the dude in real time and not realizing it. That just made me think of that. But I feel like both of these are pretty big pop cultural phenomenon movies.
Yeah, now that scene would be a text.
Yeah. I think Love Actually maybe holds a little bit more pop culture phenomenon today because of the Christmas aspect.
Certainly, it
stays in the conversation.
It is a Mariah Carey once a year. It comes back around.
You know what's funny was when I was a kid, when I first saw that movie, I thought that song was from that movie. And then I spent like the next like 5 or 6 years being like, man, that Love Actually song is going crazy.
Yo, that little girl is killing
She's crushing it.
Bro,
and then I like in middle school, I was like, oh, it's a Mariah Carey song from before. But for a while, I was like, damn, Love Actually is crushing it. Bless you.
All I Want for Christmas, the song by that British 12-year-old.
Yeah, dude.
10-year-old
With Jojen Reed on the drums. Come on.
Crazy.
Killing it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. A lot of hardship in his future.
That kid's face, man. It's been the exact same since.
Yeah,
that
it's
movie.
crazy. He looks exactly the
I
same.
always think
Exactly
also
the
that
same.
plot line is so About a Boy, which is another Hugh Grant movie from 2003, I think. Like, I don't know. I get that storyline confused with that whole movie. But
now we've gotten to the point where do these movies hold up?
We've
and
been talking about
it. The answer is no.
I mean, for both of our sakes, we better say no. But I feel like we can fold this into our final arguments if we like, because that's probably going to be the majority of it.
Yeah,
and we can move to
But let me think if there's any plot lines or storylines that may not make it into my final argument.
The sheet, it would be a text. It'd just be one text, and he'd probably send an Instagram DM because he's being shady.
He sent a Snapchat, bro. He sent a Snapchat.
Send a Snapchat.
There would be no proof.
Yes.
The fact that she went up and kissed him afterward, insane.
Yeah, that's so weird.
And then she doesn't say anything, so then it's like, oh, we don't feel bad. We don't know what you feel. Like they don't want you to feel bad about anyone, but then they make all these people shitty, and it doesn't make any sense to me. We can bypass it. We can go to the third criteria, third talking point, which may be the most important one of all.
Yes.
Was Jennifer Coolidge in either one of these movies?
She should have been.
She unfortunately was not.
So I'm going to go first here.
I'm the prime minister. Oh, my secretary's not fat because I'm bigger than her and I'm not fat. Shut the fuck up.
I wish she was, dude. Oh my God.
These Brits are trying to kill me. Yeah, if she was just the prime minister of England, no accent work needed. I think, who would you place her as?
I mean, maybe
the prime minister,
the head of T.
Okay.
No, as the head of T. Possibly.
Yes.
She could also be. She could be one of the hot girls in Wisconsin. That would be kind of funny. I think that would be
if the
hilarious.
third woman was Jennifer
Yeah,
Coolidge.
It works. It works, dude. In
Pootie
Pootie Tang, she plays Irene, and you're like, honestly,
yeah, she's hot, bro.
For
She's hot,
sure.
bro. Jennifer Coolidge in the 90s
What's
was hot.
Pootie's secret?
and she's like beating up JB Smoove. I'm gonna slow down, baby. Oh my God, I love that scene.
Such a good movie.
In my film, Jennifer Coolidge would have been the Blair Witch.
That's what I thought too.
We would have seen the witch this time.
Yeah.
Can you imagine her as Heather?
Be so funny.
That would be a
with
completely
her face.
different movie.
I just want to apologize. I'm sorry to Mike's mom. Your son's a little bitch.
That'd be so sick.
Oh man,
that's a strong second one. Yeah. But I just feel like both of these movies would have been greatly improved, as any movie would be greatly improved with the addition of Jennifer Coolidge, which is kind of why we have this whole part of the show.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so far, this is the third episode of season 7. 0 for 3, or really 0 for 6 on Jennifer Coolidge appearances.
She's not a
but we remain optimistic that she may be in one of the movies that we picked based on an arbitrary prompt given to us by someone else.
All right, awesome.
All right,
moving on.
Statistics. Love Actually. All right, it came out in 2003. It is a 7.6 on IMDb.
Come on.
A 64% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is a 64% tomato score, 72% audience score.
Okay.
These numbers mean nothing to me.
The budget for Love Actually was surprisingly
400 million.
Low. 40 million.
40 million?
Yeah. And
probably because everyone was so divvied up that you probably didn't have to pay anyone because
they weren't
like Hugh Grant's lead salary. They're probably like, we only need you for.
Yeah,
they might have gotten around.
They're technically all guest starring or some shit. Like I don't know. There's
we don't need you for 20 minutes here.
Yeah, we only need you for 20 minutes. And it made 248 million in the box office,
and Lord knows how much on DVD and streaming. All that, like, it remains a hit. A behemoth. I would say these are stats. I can't lie about this. According to I'm curious of how reliable some of these numbers are, because I'm sure the guys who made it would say that it was made for like a nickel, but this budget, according to Wikipedia, puts the budget at somewhere between $200,000 and $750,000.
Oh, see, I just saw 60,000. And I was going to say it cannot have been 60,000 because they probably spent so much money on advertising.
I'm sure that like initial cost, but then maybe if they got it added, I'm sure they baked 60, in a lot of things here. Okay, well if it's 60,000, that's wild. Either way, what did you say Love Actually made?
248.3 Yours made 200.
I got you. 248.6 is the
Let's
total
go.
box office for
Crazy.
Blair Witch Project. I think that means I win. Just for a return on dollar, which is always how we've done things
That's
here.
how we do it in America.
No, I mean, this movie was, it was like, it was cheap as hell. It was shot on a camcorder. And it had no stars, and it was just marketed virally. So where is the money in that? And then
I am shocked by these
okay, well,
scores.
so sorry, the other stats on IMDb, it currently holds a 6.5 rating, and on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got an 86% critics rating, but 57%
Ooh.
audience score.
Those
That
studios,
might talk
that's
to
a little
some sort of
payola.
a disparity.
There's some
between
payola happening there. They paid
how
some
it's
critics
received now
to talk
and how
good
it
about
was
it.
received then. Interesting.
No, they paid critics to speak
They
positively.
paid
about it.
critics were just like,
For
fuck,
sure.
did this did I just witness? Do I need to declare this to the local authority? What did I just watch? So
Not
yeah,
to get
I mean,
into our final arguments. Max, it's been a fun episode. We've had a lot of fun talking about these movies, and now it's time to get down to the nitty gritty.
Let's do it.
I went first last time. I'm gonna let Quinn go first this time.
I
Quinn,
don't know how
give your
that
final
really- I feel like
argument.
it was- all right. I'll take this challenge because I know whatever I say, Leonard's waiting to hear so that he can counter it.
and
So I have to be really good at this because he who speaks last speaks best. If I'm remembering
you spoke
a
last
quote.
time.
And I spoke last time. It was not
And the time
best.
before that, I believe. I
No.
think you spoke last the first
No,
two
you
times.
spoke. All right, I'm stalling. So, I mean, you make a good point, Max, which is like a lot of our prompts, it can be interpreted a couple different ways. So it's really like,
Thank you.
I guess I'm hoping to pitch what I think about this movie, and I hope that like aligns with your points of view for these movies. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my film and a little bit about yours, Leonard. Love Actually, as we've stated, the box office shows the fact that it was a hit at the time. This is not a sleeper hit that like people discovered on cable. It made money. It made money at the box office, as we saw. It has endured. In fact, I would argue it has picked up steam. It has become, I don't think 10, 15 years ago, this was a movie everyone was watching during Christmas, but it is now kind of joining the ranks of like A Christmas Story and the fucking Grinch or whatever, movies that people watch, not everybody, but some people watch every year in Hollywood. That's how you found out about it. Which to me means that like it's held its reputation, despite what we three in this room think about it. It is becoming, despite our protests, a Christmas classic. Hard for me to say that that movie doesn't hold up because it's just as bad as we find it now. It's just as bad. It was just as bad then. I don't think like anything has changed or soured in the intervening 20 years that is worse now. I mean, yeah, probably some of the threesome stuff you might be like, well, we'd be a little bit more whatever. I don't think so. It's not that offensive. There are no slurs. There are no things that you watch and you go, oh, we were doing that in 2003. Not really. It's basically, if you made that movie today, my point is, I think it would be a hit probably. Conversely, The Blair Witch, huge influence, like a landmark film for horror, where horror was going, found footage. You look at Paranormal Activity, you look at what was that movie with Michael B. Jordan where they were like superheroes and they were finding out?
Oh, that was a good movie.
Yeah, that was found footage. Like it has transcended the genre of horror into other things. So huge influence as well. But the movie, without the trappings of is this real or this is the first of its kind and I can't believe we're seeing this thing shot so shitty on a big screen like it's a real movie. The movie does not hold up. You watch this movie, and again, you could think Love Actually is bad, but I think it's just as bad as you would have found it back in 2003. The Blair Witch in 1999 was like, what am I seeing? I've never seen anything like this. That happened again 10 years later with Paranormal Activity, which had more like sophisticated, the whole cameras in the home and cutting in between the different perspectives. You make Blair Witch now, it's a dud. It is not, it's important because of where it came and where it was and how it was marketed. The movie itself, I don't think it holds up to the standards that we would hold up at, like basically all of its children have surpassed it in like technique or style. Now the Blair Witch still has a charm of watching it today and being like, oh, but it's interesting that it does feel very authentic. A lot of these later ones don't, but it's not good enough that it doesn't hold up. It's more worth revisiting for the time in which it came out and the phenomenon that it was than like, oh, I'm going to put this in and be scared. I mean, once the jig is up, it has no value. Or so I say. Leonard, what do you say?
Okay. I'm going to speak on both movies. The first thing I'm going to say, Blair Witch Project it's just a bad movie. Like it's you see it once and it has no more allure. It can't hold up because it's not a rewatchable movie. It's not a movie that you watch one time. It's a one-trick pony. It's a quick gimmick, and therefore I don't think it even falls under the category of holding up because it's like no one's like, I'm watching this movie every Halloween. You know, it's a horror movie that is so bad that people don't want to watch it again, like even from years ago. And the only people who enjoy the movie now are the people who've seen it for the first time. It's like a one-time watch. So therefore, I don't think it matters about holding up. And when you think of movies that kind of had a little gimmick or a little one trick or trying to be innovative, like Fight Club, where it's like, oh, there's a twist at the end, or like a Memento, or like Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense, there's one thing at the end that makes the movie like, oh shit. Yeah. But you can rewatch that movie and be like,
those movies hold up.
How do I, you know what I'm saying? How do I make that work? And it's like, because you want to rewatch it. Blair Witch is just a bad movie that you don't want to rewatch again. Now, Love Actually is a bad movie. And the reason why I chose it for doesn't hold up is the way it is lauded, the way that it has this phenomenon and people love it every Christmas, and the way it was explained to me on my first watch. Like, oh, this is a movie that everyone loves and it's been around and it's a Christmas movie. And it's like, oh, this movie sucks. Like the reason why that it's lauded is of the celebrities. There's so many big names in this movie. It just feels like an early 2000s no soul, like back when
like a DJ Khaled album.
Like yes, back when the early 2000s is like the worst period of time for art. Like as far as like music, television shows, movies, everything was about money. Like, let's get as much money as we can out of this, and let's be as commercial as we possibly can. And I feel like a lot of love for this movie is nostalgia based. And I feel like if you go online and you look up Love Actually, there are so many articles about how I've seen Love Actually through a new prism, or I am now realizing that this is a bad movie, and I'm not just looking at Keira Knightley be hot, and I'm not just looking at Andrew Lincoln be hot. And there are so many, and here's the thing. Love Actually, way better movie than Blair Witch, probably. But it's held to a different standard. So therefore, I don't think it holds up to the standard that is put upon it. And some of the things that don't hold up, the fat phobia, the wild, oh, I'm just going to be a white British man that goes to America and I have sex with the 4 most beautiful women in the town. It's crazy to me.
That holds up to me.
I'm just going to keep pursuing my maid and she will talk to me even though we don't speak the same language. All of these are dream scenarios of men and younger women, beautiful women falling in love with them. And I feel like that doesn't hold up. And, you know, just cookie cutter cardboard pieces. Like, it is not a good movie. It is a bad movie, but it still is held at a position of lore and people love it. And that's why I don't think
Citizen Kane.
And that's why I don't think it holds up.
All right.
And I think my movie is the better movie. I think it is Love Actually is entertaining. It is an entertaining movie, but it is not a Christmas it doesn't. The way I had heard about Love Actually my entire life. Like, you hear people talk about Love Actually, blah, blah. And then when I finally watched it, I was like, this is what y'all talking about? This is terrible, bro.
All right.
The saving grace is Billy. And also when he goes to help the little boy get through the thing, what the fuck was Mr. Bean doing there? That made no sense. That man, he just like, it's like, nigga, do y'all know each other? There's just so much shit that it doesn't make sense. The writing is terrible. It doesn't hold up. It's not a good movie.
All right, Leonard, we've had our say. Now, Max, you can take as much or as little time as you want. If you have come to a decision, now is the time where you make the decision on it. Between Leonard's and my pick, who picked the film that better embodies a movie that did not hold up?
I don't know who's arguing for what at this point. I'm not going to lie.
I think we lost it somewhere.
I was like, wait, so, all right, so hang on. Is Leonard saying if I don't think Love Actually holds up, but Blair Witch does, like, then you're right.
If you feel our arguments are muddy, so
there is no clear.
Quite simply, I want you to say Blair Witch is the movie that doesn't hold up, and Leonard wants you to say Love Actually. But if our arguments were muddied and it kind of
I feel like you made the argument for Blair Witch not holding up.
Right.
Like, really strongly.
I also feel like I made the argument for Blair Witch not holding up.
That's why I'm just a little confused on it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can view it from whatever angle you want to.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's what you feel.
He's saying his movie doesn't hold up, and I think he's right. And I think my movie doesn't hold up, but I think mine is held to a different standard, and that's why
it doesn't hold up more, which means it holds up less.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
So whatever you think is the better,
okay,
and it could it could be whatever's the worst movie is. If it's the worst movie, then we
just talked for 55 minutes to say it's whatever you feel.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out like.
Well, I guess it's like you don't have to worry about like we made the right legalese kind of argument. You could just be like, I'm feeling this based on whatever. It also just whatever you felt when you sat down in this chair. Maybe we didn't sway you.
Okay, I think I'll take it in two directions to start off. One, I agree with you both. Both of these were so fun to watch because it was like, oh, this is so crazy that people love this so much. But I will say, I do think if I had to pick the movie that I think holds up more, it is Blair Witch Project, and I agree with what you said because you literally said. It spawned an entire genre of movies that then became successful on their own. Like Paranormal Activity is a huge hit. Love Actually is all of those little things just kind of, they never gained that same sentiment, right? Like, and I also think rewatching it, like, I just watched it from a different angle. It seemed like you guys didn't really like it. I liked it. I was like, this movie is honestly kind of tight. Like, I think when I was like turning up the sound, like when you hear like the baby crying, I was like, oh my God, that's fucking so scary. I was watching it at night, dark room, laptop as close to my face as possible. Like I was going in, like I was trying to immerse it, right?
Yeah.
But I just think like.
Did you watch Love Actually in the UK?
I did. I time traveled to Christmas 2003.
Nice.
Everybody was hot on 9/11. It was crazy. But I think Love Actually
hot on it.
To me, it was hot in the streets. Funk flex. All right. I just think Love Actually to me didn't hold up because I look at it from the example of the Blair Witch Project was this huge influential thing, and like to me, the fact that it was so important that spawned so many genres. It's kind of like now if you were to go listen to like a Buddy Holly record, you'd be like, oh, this sounds like a lot of rock and roll. Yeah, because that was like kind of the first one that did it. You know what I mean? So I think Blair Witch holds up more. I do agree with you, though, that Love Actually, I think, is more important culturally because it is like this Christmas classic that now has kind of like found its way into the zeitgeist still. I think artistically, Blair Witch holds up. I think relevancy-wise, Love Actually holds up. But if I had to pick a movie, I would watch that movie. You guys were like, dude, people wouldn't fucking watch this shit every Halloween. I'm just like, I would watch it every Halloween. I like the movie.
We might have to, put a little sauce on it for, trying to argue.
We're coming pretty hard at it. I thought that movie was boring. I was like, which is the joy of it. I think I would have appreciated it more if I wasn't sure if it had really happened. But I feel like I needed a little bit more.
So Max, what are you choosing?
I think he said, well, yeah.
Well, I still don't know what the pick means.
Here's what I was. Have you seen many or any James Bond movies?
I've seen it. I've seen a handful. Yeah.
Have you seen like the first James Bond movie I ever saw was like from a couple years before I saw it. It was in the 90s. It was a Pierce Brosnan movie, and he's jumping out of a Goldeneye. He's jumping off a cliff, catching up with a plane, pulling the plane up, and then someone's like, "You like those movies?" James Bond, Sean Connery, you got to watch those. And I watched Thunderball, and he checks into a spa and he just tans. And I was just like, this is the same movie. Like they're playing the theme when he's driving his car with the rear projection behind him. So I guess it's like doesn't hold up. I feel like Sean Connery, I've come to since appreciate those movies, but like as a kid, it's like that's the thing that you're saying is the greatest thing, and the thing that I like is a derivative of that. It's like I feel like that's Blair Witch 2.
It sounds like he said that Blair Witch Project holds up better, so therefore Love Actually doesn't hold up.
That's what I think.
I think that's the argument.
That's what I think that we're gonna have.
So
to
therefore,
take the
Love Actually is the winner of the doesn't hold up. Let's.
Congrats, Leonard.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't want to tell you the record going into this episode, but now I am up 3-0.
Well, it's funny because you like made the argument so great for why it held up to me. I was like, nice, dude. All right, cool.
Oh, that sucks.
This
so
guy's
bad.
on my side.
And I
No,
know
I feel like Leonard was making the argument. I was saying the Blair Witch is a phenomenon, but the Emperor has no clothes. You go back but you liked it. But like to me, you go back and watch that movie and you're like, this. I also just straight up, which maybe I hate found footage. It's the most annoying genre of film.
I also forgot to mention what you said is that Love Actually is a rom-com, and it compared to other rom-coms, it is fucking. There's so many way better rom-coms than Love Actually.
All right, you just take the win and go.
Max, where can the people find you?
The people can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Big Time Maca, BIGTIMEMACA. I got my first big music video dropping September 9th, Bed by 9, directed by the brilliant man himself, Christian Klein, produced by Evil Laugh, aka Tommy Wakefield. Got some heavy hitter cameos in that video. Me, Tommy, our boy Aaron Monte. It's crazy. The list goes on. And then I got that coming out. I will be doing some out of town dates. I'm in the Bay Area next weekend. I will be in San Diego August 31st. I will be in New York City at Union Hall October 13th at 7:30 p.m.
Big things.
I'll be in Atlanta at the Uptown Comedy Corner.
Didn't invite me
March
to Atlanta.
2nd. It's not too late.
Oh shit, March 2nd.
You have to say that
Damn,
you
you booking that far out? Okay,
yeah, bro.
big dog.
We are out here.
I'm doing a fucking good job at comedy.
But yeah, follow me. It's all in my links. Hit me up. And that's it. And go watch the Blair Witch Project with an open mind.
No,
Quinn.
It doesn't hold up. Damn
Wow.
it. That's not the official thing that we're saying.
I will say the acting was very good in the movie.
They
I
just
will say it
scared
felt
some
real.
guy. They scared some kids.
It felt
They
real.
threw them in the woods and they
But it was a
spooked
little
them.
boring.
Yeah.
It was a little long. It should have just been like an episode of like Black Mirror or some shit like
Yes,
that.
would have been a great.
Great episode of Black Mirror.
Type
Guess
50.
what? This is the end of the episode.
End of the episode.
So we'll see you.
Where are we going to see us?
We'll see you at the cinema. See you later.
Damn, dude.